You've probably heard, "Stop trying to fix everything in your relationship," a million times. Perhaps you aren't even aware of your intentions, but you do know that you despise seeing the one you love in distress or experiencing tension in your own relationship. Your motives are honest. Your goal is to prevent conflict and eliminate negative emotions. Your first inclination is to use reason to evaluate the situation and find a solution to your unease. It's natural to wonder why your partner is ignoring your sincere efforts to help them or calm things down. You may reach a frustrating point where you don't know what to do to make things better with your partner when they start getting angry with you for always trying to fix things. All hope may be lost, and you may feel overwhelmed by stress and rejection. It's possible you'll start thinking there's nothing you can accomplish successfully. This could be the reason you've been looking up phrases like, "Stop trying to fix everything in your relationship," on Google. If you're going through this, know that you're not alone. Many married couples go through the same thing. While we're all familiar with the concept of chronic people pleasers, the concept of a chronic fixer is less well known. Growing up, the chronic fixer was often the child who was responsible for an unpredictable or irresponsible parent or sibling, the mediator in the family when abuse or escalation would surface, the child who was neglected from their parents' attention, or the child who grew up not knowing unconditional love. The rescuer is typically an emotionally immature child who was never taught to cope with the intense feelings that others display. Because of your tendency to want to help others, your inner child may feel helpless and be deeply wounded when your partner becomes angry at you for your efforts to do so. It can be difficult to stop trying to fix your relationship if the fixer mentality is deeply ingrained in you. What are your next steps? Your motives as the peacemaker to defuse the situation are admirable. That's because you're concerned, because you want to help, because you want to see things put right again. However, the impulse to make things right comes more from a need for security than a desire to help others. This is why your attempts to fix the situation seem to make things worse for your partner instead of better. You are not inherently bad or wrong if you are the one doing the fixing. It's helpful to realize that your natural inclination to try to put a stop to things and fix them is actually a defense mechanism against your inability to handle unpleasant feelings and/or heated debate. Your behavior and your desire to make things right are reflexive reactions to unconscious fears you developed as a child or in an unhealthy relationship. This topic frequently arises in couples therapy because one person's natural approach to supporting the other can be the exact opposite of what their partner actually needs. They have no idea how to talk to each other about it, so instead of finding a solution, they just keep arguing about the same things over and over. Both of them feel ignored and irritated as a result. The analogy would be to never tell a panicked person to calm down. In most cases, telling someone to calm down has the opposite effect, making the person feel even more dismissed and ashamed of their own emotions. Although calm down is usually a good idea, when feelings are running high it's impossible to switch gears and think rationally. The amygdala is vulnerable to being taken over by other parts of the brain when we are feeling emotionally triggered. The complexity of the human mind and the fact that in the throes of emotion we don't always make the most rational decisions necessitates that we be aware of this. This is why it's crucial for both people in a relationship to develop their EQ and tolerance. It's a common piece of advice of mine to my clients: your friend is currently mired in feces. Literally. They have absorbed all of it. They can hardly keep their heads above the vileness. It's like sinking in quicksand. You notice them and you wish to extract them. However, you survey your surroundings and find nothing suitable for the task. The stress and depression have spread to your partner. Worry and depression have set in. The best option: join them in their shithole of a situation. So long. Strange, huh? Yes, this is what we need as humans, and this is often all we can get. Your participation demonstrates your commitment to the relationship. By allowing them to feel helpless, you are also allowing yourself to feel helpless in the face of their overwhelming emotions. You and your partner are riding the wave together, and as you look at each other with compassion, they are doing the same. There really is no other choice sometimes. By the time the sun goes down, the mud loosens up enough for the two of you to get out comfortably and find shelter, together, as a team. Eventually, the yuckiness becomes bearable, and you realize that you aren't covered in poop, but in mud. Problem averted. Relationship advice: stop trying to mend everything and try these 6 instead. Calm yourself. Do your best to breathe consciously when your partner is having difficulty. Take a few deep breaths and force yourself to stop reacting by isolating yourself emotionally and fixing the problem. Just take a deep breath and tell yourself that you are protected. Think about whether, "Oh no, here we go again," or "What did I do wrong?" was your first thought. Don't jump to conclusions. If your partner's energy is off, your mind will immediately jump to the worst possible outcome. Rather than continuing down that path, pause to take stock of the current circumstances and ask yourself, is what I am assuming or thinking true? Do I have data to back up these irrational assumptions? Could it be that I'm being too lenient with my partner? Try to get more answers by asking and answering questions and listening more. Inquire further. It's easy to do, and it can do double duty by calming both of your nerves and your partner's ego. It's possible that your partner is upset about something that isn't you, and that they need some time alone to sort things out. Ask them directly, "Do you want me to help you solve this, or just listen," to get a sense of what they really need. Establish boundaries. If you are feeling emotionally overwhelmed, it is acceptable to ask for space. For instance, "I hear you, I see you're upset, and I need a moment to process all this because emotions can be challenging for me to process," is a reasonable way to request space from an emotionally involved partner. "When I return in a few hours, would you like to continue discussing this?" Do something about it. If you feel uncomfortable with it, practice being okay with uncomfortable feelings or talking about uncomfortable topics. Personal counseling can be helpful if you have trouble controlling or processing your emotions on your own. Get out from under the pressure to make everything better for whatever reason. You might think it's your job to make things better, but that's not the case. Your greatest source of suffering comes from holding on to this false notion. Giving up your control means giving up the responsibility. While this may not be ideal, it is at least somewhat relieving. If your relationship has any of these problems, it's natural to wonder if it's worth keeping alive. Anxiety about pleasing an abusive partner and being a fixer because of repressed childhood trauma are two different things. Relationships are difficult in general. To have the best relationship possible, you should always assume the best of your partner, if it is not toxic or abusive. Even if it doesn't always seem that way, know that everyone here is doing their absolute best. If you're not getting your point across, maybe you need to take a gentler approach. In an effort to make your partner feel heard and understood, you may be missing the mark and making things worse. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe the channel.